Hello, this is part 2 of our Intro to Claude Code series, and in this video we're going to talk about permission modes that are available for us inside of Claude Code. Here in VS Code, we have an empty folder opened up and we also have like a fresh Claude Code session. The way we access the different permission modes is by means of clicking on this button over here. So by default, we have it at the manual permission mode. Then you also have edit automatically, plan, and auto. We'll walk through them one by one. So let's start with the manual mode. Okay. So when you're in the manual mode and ask Claude Code to do something on your project, it's going to ask for your permission anytime it does anything. All right. So let's see that in action now. Let's ask Claude Code to build a simple Hello World Python program. Build a simple Hello World Python application. Okay. We are in manual mode and let's press enter. A Hello World Python program is something that's very simple for Claude Code to create, but still you can see that it is asking for our permissions to create this new file, hello.py, right? So it is up to us to decide whether we want to give it permissions to actually create that file or not. So in this case, we'll just say yes. And here again, after it created that file, now it wants to verify it by means of running that Python file. You can see that the Python file has already been created, right? Because of the permission that we gave it. But then for it to verify whether it actually works, it's asking us permission to run this particular command on the terminal. Okay. So let's give it that permission as well. And there you have it. So it asked us permission, first of all, to create this file, and then it asked us permission to actually run that Python file to test if it is actually working or not. So that's this first level of permission that you have, like the manual, right? Like where for anything and everything, Claude will run it through you and you completely are in control of what it actually does. The actions it takes, it is always run through you. Now, let's explore the next level of permission that Claude Code offers, which is the edit automatically mode. So in this mode, Claude will automatically be able to like edit your selected text or whole files, but it would not be able to run commands on your behalf. You would still need to give it permissions to run commands. Let's see that in action. So I'll open up a new Claude session and there, let's change this permission mode to edit automatically. And we'll give the same exact prompt as before, build a simple Hello World Python application. We even cleared out the previous Python file that it had created. So let's see what it does now. See, it was able to directly write to a file. It actually created a new file called main.py. You can see, it has that Hello World code, but it didn't ask us permission to do that, right? So it is able to like directly edit files on our behalf because it is in this edit automatically permission mode. But then after it created that Python file, now it wants to run a bash command. As before, it wants to run the Python command to run this Python file to test it. At that point where it is going to run a command on the terminal, it is not able to do it by itself. It's asking for our permission. So let's give it permission to do it. Perfect. Since we had given it permission, it was actually able to run the Python file and verify that it is actually working. Cool. So let's now move on to the next permission mode, which is plan. Okay. So this is one of my favorite modes to be in because we can actually brainstorm with Claude Code and come up with a precise plan of what we want to execute. So spending a lot of time in plan mode is very useful because it clarifies Claude Code and also us on what we want to build. In this way, strategy will drive execution rather than execution driving strategy. All right. So let's open up a new session and change to plan mode. And what we'll do is, since we already have this simple Hello World code, we'll ask Claude Code to now come up with a plan to create a nice user interface for it. Okay. So let's open up that session and here we are in plan mode. We'll say, come up with a plan to create a nice desktop user interface for this application. I would like to have a big green button in the middle of the user interface, which when I press should show me a pop-up that says hello world. Okay, let's ask it to create the plan for us. Now, when you're in plan mode, Claude Code will not do any manipulations to the files on your project. It will just be a cognitive task. It will think on your behalf and draft a plan that you can verify. And only when you accept the plan, it would actually go ahead and execute it, actually like create the files only if you approve. And another cool thing about the plan mode is Claude Code will ask us questions to clarify what we exactly wanted to get done, right? So in this case, we asked it to build a desktop user interface. There are a couple of different ways in which you can build a desktop interface with Python, right? So it's asking us whether we want to make use of Tinker or PySide to build the user interface. It even recommends Tinker for building the user interface. So let's just go along with it and ask it to set it up. Now, if you have any queries with regards to the library or the modules that it is suggesting, you can ask follow-up questions here because we're still in plan mode. It's not going to do any changes to the files until you approve the plan. So you're in a safe brainstorming session with Claude Code right now. All right, so it has come up with a plan. So usually it will be this markdown file that it creates. Okay, now this markdown file is not living in your directory over here. So in this case, for me, it is living in my user directories .claude folder. And it comes up with these interesting names for the plans that it creates. You can always ask it to write it to this directory if you want to, but essentially this is the plan that it has come up with. So it says that the context, the project is a single console script which just prints hello world to the terminal. Now the user has chosen Tinker as the graphical user interface toolkit, and the approach is going to rewrite the main.py file to open a Tinker window instead of printing it to the console. Okay, it looks straightforward. It even shows you the size it is going to make use of, the title of the interface, the colors it's going to use, and all those things. So it looks good for me. Now, when you're building a much more sophisticated application, you can spend a lot more time here. I would advise you to spend a lot more time iterating on the plan. And once you have it good, you just ask it to go ahead and execute. So the plan looks good. Let's say yes and see what it builds for us. And you can see that we are still in the edit automatically permissions mode. So if in case it wants to run some commands, it will still ask our permissions. Just as we anticipated, here you can see that it wants to run this particular PowerShell command and it is asking permissions. So let's say yes, and there you have it. Here you can see that it has finished building the application now with a user interface. Okay, so let's launch this and see if it is actually as what we had expected. We can press Ctrl tilde to bring up the terminal and we'll say Python and main.py. And there you have it. This is the app that it built for us, the user interface. It has this nice big green button called Press Me. We'll click on it and we have a pop-up box saying hello world. Right? Now, let's look at this higher level permission that you could give to Claude Code, which is auto. So when you set the auto permission, Claude Code will not only be able to edit files on your behalf, it will also be able to run the commands that it needs to get the work done, right? So this mode becomes more agentic, if you will. Now, yes, auto mode is a bit more automatic, it's a bit more agentic, but it still has a bit of safety net. Okay, so Claude Code will approve actions that pass a safety check and pause for anything risky, right? Because when you're in this auto permission mode, there is this reviewer agent, AI agent, which is constantly monitoring what's going on. So if at all, this actual agent which is doing the work for you is planning to do something risky, right? Planning to remove certain important files or run some, dangerous commands, the reviewing agent will catch it and stop it and make sure it asks for your permission before it proceeds. So that's what this, auto permission mode enables us to do. Let's try it out by means of first of all, deleting this file. We now again have an empty folder, and let's open up a new Claude Code session. Let's give it the same exact prompt. Build a simple hello world Python application in auto mode. Run. Now this is a bit more hands-off way of using the AI. It's going to take care of creating the file and running commands for you. So let's see it all happen. And there you have it. You can see that it has already created that Python file, that hello world Python file. So that's cool. Let's see if it can also run commands. So here it says it's actually using the PowerShell to run the script to verify if it is actually working. Yes, it was able to run the command as well, and it responds saying that the work is done. So this is pretty cool. So especially for long running tasks which you just want the agent to get done, you can make use of this auto mode. So depending on your use case, right? If you're working on something very sensitive and you want to make sure that everything goes through you, you can make use of the manual mode. If you want to ensure that any command that is getting executed is run through you, but you're fine with file edits, you can make use of the edit automatically mode. And if you want Claude Code to be a bit more agentic, and you want to be a bit more hands-off, where Claude Code will be able to create files, edit files, and also run commands by itself, you can make use of auto, with the assurance that there is a reviewer agent which is constantly monitoring what this executing agent is doing. So there is a bit of a safety net for us. And we also touched upon plan mode, which is super useful in creating the strategy for your executions. Now, in addition to these permissions modes, there's one other permission mode, which is bypass permissions, where you totally go YOLO. Okay, so that mode you can by default it won't even show up here because it's basically auto mode but without the safety net. So there is no reviewing agent monitoring what this executing agent is doing. Use that mode with caution because it can do anything on your behalf. If you're in some sort of a virtual machine or sandbox, or if it's some sort of a contained environment where you're okay with some risky actions happening, you can make use of the bypass permissions mode. But for most of our use case, we can just use auto, if you want that agentic capabilities, or the other modes that we discussed in this session. So I'll just show you how you can enable that bypass permission mode. You just click on this gear button, then click settings, and over here, click on extensions. You would find the Claude Code extension. There you will be able to find this checkbox, which if you tick, will enable the dangerously skip permissions mode. Okay, so with that enabled, if we come back to a new Claude Code session, here we now have this additional permissions mode, which is bypass permissions. And it says Claude will not ask for approval before running potentially dangerous commands. It can just do whatever to get the outcome done, right? Let's just even see that in action. It'll not be much different from this auto mode, at least for our demonstration. So here, if you see, I'll just delete this file once again, and let's give the same prompt to build a simple hello world Python application in this bypass permissions mode. And here you can see that just as with the auto permission mode, here also it was able to write to this file. It created this hello.py file and wrote to it. And it was also able to run this PowerShell command to verify if it actually works. So there you have it. Manual, edit automatically, plan, auto, and bypass permissions. So these are all the different permission modes that are available to us when we make use of Claude Code. Hope this video was useful. Thanks for watching, and follow along if you are exploring AI for your workflows.